like,
how exciting.
Exactly. Now it begins. It begins.
And we found the perfect time.
We did. No stress. I love that. Okay, so we start. The first question is, what issues were you experiencing prior to the experiment?
I was experiencing quite big financial challenges, coupled with quite a giant amount of self-criticism that I wasn't really aware of. So though that was making things a lot worse than it necessarily needed to be, and I was finding it quite challenging to work out what to do next and how to take stuff forward.
Okay. What, if any, objections or resistance did you have to joining the experiment?
I had resistance. I remember very specifically having resistance from a financial perspective, because I just thought, I'm in a financial difficulty. Is spending money going to be the best plan? And I know in the past that I have spent money almost as a delaying tactic, as a way of kind of postponing needing to do stuff, or to feel like I am doing stuff. Whereas that isn't necessarily always helpful for me. So that was where my resistance was, and it was the best money I've ever spent without any debt.
I love that.
It was the most valuable, the most incredible, just very, very intensive, and rightly so, and required, and very helpful in helping me to get a different perspective.
What is your biggest breakthrough?
I think for me, the guilt, blame and shame thing. I'd never really looked at those in any great detail. I'd kind of superficially looked at them, and I know in the past I've kind of made fun, like, pictures out of them, and never really appreciated how much of an impact they were having on my life, and how regularly I was in that place of guilt, blame and shame, and especially in relation to money, and just how that was a very definite cycle.
Cool. So how has it changed to not be experiencing that at that level?
What's been absolutely amazing has been to be able to notice and to be able to recognise. And it's also brought up, the noticing has also then led to an amazing amount of grief that I had no idea was there. And you can hear me getting emotional. That has been so incredibly powerful, to be able to get in touch with that and to connect with that, and to allow that space, and to sit with it, and to notice where it's come from, notice the threads that it's had in my life, and to be able to let it be, and not have to influence everything going forward. Mind-boggling. My mind is boggled. And it feels like I'm getting more awareness and more understanding, and I'm still in a process.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, it's never ending. It's not like you arrive somewhere. It's the understanding that I'm in process, and I will always be in process, and actually being okay with I will always be in process.
It's amazing, and actually feeling comfortable with that, because this is, it's some interesting and giant shit, and it's amazing to be able to be okay with that. Yeah.
How long did it take before you trusted the process?
That's a really interesting question, because I definitely remember maybe the first couple of weeks of just thinking, this is just funny. I mean, this is just this is strange. And the support in the group and reading other people's reflections was amazing, and just made me think, actually, that this is really fascinating. This is really interesting. And what if this was actually going to work? And that was, so it certainly, for me, it certainly wasn't an instant thing. It wasn't just like, wham, yes, I get it, and I can just run with it. And I definitely needed to play with it and just try it out. And there were a couple of weeks that were really playful, and that was really helpful for me to kind of work through some of that resistance, and just explore it and have fun with it.
Yeah.
And I think once that started to happen, then I was like, wow, okay, so now I can have these emotions and these feelings, and I can be playful as well. And that's a really interesting place to be. Yeah, that's a very different experience to how I've experienced stuff before, and it's served me very, very well over recent weeks and months. It's been really, really fascinating.
Cool. Tell me about the community and support aspect of the experiment.
The community was just fantastic, and I loved the diversity. I loved the difference. I loved the different people, the different perspectives, and people's different journeys. And that for me was a really rich experience of getting to know a reasonable number of people at quite a deep level. And I maybe have been used to smaller groups in the past, and so this was really fascinating to me to see this play out with what felt to me like a bigger group. And for that to be incredibly supportive, incredibly enlightening, the different, when I posted something I was having a challenge with or that I was exploring, the different perspectives was just amazing. And yours was always invaluable. And I loved that input from the other people. And that was really special to me, and I've made some good friends out of it that I treasure, and I think that's been a really inspiring part of the process. That was a bit unexpected for me, because I remember thinking when I started, 20 feels like a big number to be doing this level of work, this depth of work. That was my perspective going into it. When I've done, I've led groups of 2, and I've been involved in groups of, tiny numbers, and to do deep work. So this was an interesting change, and I noticed how actually that was very valuable to have that difference that you wouldn't necessarily get if there are only 2 or 3 people.
Very cool. And because I love tooting my own horn, I have no problem doing that, but I would love for you to talk about the perspective of what I brought, how the level of interaction, the level of support that I brought to the group.
The level of support that you brought to the group for me was unprecedented. I've not been in a group coaching situation, or even in a one-to-one coaching situation, where I have felt the level of support and commitment and dedication from the person running it. You said pretty much at the start, I'm here, this is what I'm doing, I'm dedicated to you, and I'm here to support you through this process. And even though you said those words, and I thought, yes, that sounds really positive, I didn't understand how much that was going to play out in your interactions, in your Zoom, the Zoom opportunities that were very frequent, and in the lots of interaction in the Facebook group, on everybody's comments. It felt to me like you are an incredibly wise, and this is going to sound funny, but an ancient soul. It just feels.
I am growing chin hairs.
They need to be much longer. You need to really work on those chin hairs. It just felt to me like the kind of support that just from ancient ancestors kind of support and that was incredible. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I'm just gonna feel that for real. Feel that. What would you want someone to know about the experiment if they're curious but hesitant about time and money and investment and attention and all of that?
I would say that it's just really important to prioritize what's important. And there is never enough money, there's never enough time, there's never enough, our attention is caught by so many millions of gazillion things every second of every minute. And it's really important to prioritize the things that actually matter and the things that actually make a difference. And this is worth dedicating some time to. This is worth dedicating some space, some time, some energy, and some of it is really playful. Some of it is a real delight to explore and play. So it's not hard work. It's not difficult in that sense. But it's so valuable, and it's supported me in every other aspect of my life. And I've had some pretty interesting, crappy stuff happen in the last few weeks, and I've got no idea how I would have dealt with that if I hadn't had these tools and this opportunity to really change my state, and to be able to play and to just look at things differently. So it's required. I think it's something everybody should get access to as a life skill.
That's great that you say that, because what some of the feedback I've gotten was, well, I've done all these retreats and I've done all these books and I've done all these courses, and how do I know this isn't going to be the next, thing that essentially that I will fail at?
Yeah, because it's failing at it isn't an option. It's a really
or it's like failing at it is welcome.
Well,
and it isn't an option. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, failing at it is welcome, but it's just a wherever you come to, it's a different exploration, and it's a different perspective, and it is all welcome, and that is absolutely amazing and liberating, and it's very supportive to be able to help people to go through whatever they're going through.
Yay!
Amazing.
I am so happy to have you in there and doing this, and thank you so much for being here with me in this conversation and letting me record it and letting people see us and all of that.
I absolutely love it, and I will sing it from the rooftops, because I just think it's an amazing process. I think it's an amazing support system. I think the support that you offer and the support that the group offers is very, very unique. And I've done all sorts of retreats. I've done all sorts of different coachings, qualifications and certificates, and this is something really, really interesting and really powerful, and I like it.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording with that.